We can win. We are genuinely ecstatic, but we have the power to ruin ourselves. I don't know who I am, ladies and gentlemen. This will be more than simply a summary of a tennis match, so fasten your seatbelts. This is the tale of one of the deadliest breakdowns in Southeast Asian sports history, pressure and pride. If you thought tennis was all about handshakes, politeness, and gracious losers, you're going to get a reality check that will make your mouth drop. We are discussing a single cold reader, an almost violent backstage explosion, and a diplomatic incident that took place under the pretense of a semi-final match. It put an end to 3 complete tantrums in a matter of seconds. Greetings once more from Champions Tennis, where we present the unvarnished, unadulterated truth of the tales that rock the tennis world. The story of today has it all. A golden woman is confronted by hostile crowds and ludicrous charges of dishonesty. The altercation that took place in the locker room is still being discussed by witnesses. Additionally, the dominance of vengeful performances changed history. You will see why Alex Eala, who served Justice's coldest dish, is a certified ice queen after reading this. Apart from being a tennis prodigy, the stage was set up for the SEA Games in Boracay, Thailand, in December. There will be the 33rd Southeast Asian Games. For those who are not familiar, allow me to provide you with an overview of SEA Games tennis. This isn't Wimbledon, when everyone cheers and drinks champagne. There is conflict here. You're seeing more than just a sporting contest when Thailand plays the Philippines on a tennis court, particularly in Thade. In an area where national pride is in jeopardy, you are seeing a struggle for dominance. Every grunt, every volley, every served tee. The National Center for Tennis Development, there were many Thai supporters who shared the same goals. Take note of their Naklo, the local hero who defeated the Filipino danger and advanced towards gold. They brought drums. They had flags with them. The force they provided could power a small city. There was a booming noise even before a ball was struck. The moment had come for necklaces. The pressure on her opponent, the home court advantage, and the audience behind her. Everything was set up for a draw win. Alex, who is 20 years old, is celebrating. Ella, the internet sensation, has previously created history as the first Filipino to win a junior Grand Slam singles title. She clawed her way into the WTA Top 150, trained at the Rafael Nadal Spanish Academy, and carried the burden of a country's tennis aspirations. However, this is the problem. What distinguishes Ella from other gifted young athletes? She possesses more than just information. There is ice in her blood vessels. Ella thrives in tough crowds while other players fall apart. Some, on the other hand, allow the pressure to smother them. It serves as fuel for Ella. She didn't care about failing, even though thousands of people were in prayer when she entered the court. Her goal was to perform, but she didn't have enough drums. Maybe whistles or steep stairs were coming to stop her. It was obvious from the beginning that the game would not be competitive. Everyone anticipated a gripping tale. Ella emerged flaming. She was using her left-handed forearm to draw lines that didn't belong there. Because she was kicking her serve up and away from Naklo's backhand, the Thai superstar was missing and lunging. Every time Naklo attempted to develop rhythm, ISA would make a shot so spectacular that the momentum was completely lost. A demolition derby was the first set. Alo won 6-1 in what felt like 15 minutes. A startled stillness replaced the boisterous crowd. This was not supposed to occur. This was not intended to occur. It was expected that Naklo would prevail. She was the family's favorite. The rankings belonged to her. She owned the crowd. However, since there was a man on the other side of the internet who had previously outperformed much larger stages than this, none of that mattered. However, things started to get strange at this point. As though the second set was the first time the match's rhythm faltered. Moreover, it was unrelated to the standard of tennis. Observers and witnesses in the courtroom observed an oddity. It began to drag from one place to another. The necklace service was taking longer than anticipated. Shoe tying occasionally seemed to occur at strangely appropriate times. Declare that a few beat pause is too long. There will always be a delay, an interruption, or something to halt the momentum when yellow is concentrated, locked in, and preared to serve. To be fair, gamesmanship is a component in tennis. Each player participates in it to some extent. Even if the events at Navai crossed the boundary between strategy and desperation, anyone observing could understand that Naklo was making every effort to impede Esau's progress because she was unable to defeat her in real tennis. Additionally, the audience turned into weapons. A whistle would sound from someplace in the stands each time Ella threw the ball. The cheers were so loud that it seemed as though Naklo had won the match, and she frequently failed to serve first. The tennis match was not attended by any Thai spectators. Even if it meant making the competition a terrible mental experience, they were there to support their athlete in any way possible. However, this is what makes champs so lovely. They don't provide justifications. Every 5 seconds, they don't complain to the umpire. They adapt. They adjust. In either case, they prevail. That's exactly what Alexa did. They demanded that the audience keep quiet or become agitated. Ellie remained trapped in her bubble even if fewer players had fallen. She continued to focus on the baseline. Her breathing remained steady. She disregarded everything except the white lines and the yellow ball. In the second set, Naklo began to fight back, capitalizing on the enthusiasm of the audience and the delays that favored her. She was grunting louder and punching harder in an attempt to physically intimidate the younger participant. The overall score increased for a short while. The Thai fans were yelling for a comeback, and it seemed like they might succeed. The drums began to beat more quickly, but the potential became more audible. Naklo was pounding her fist after each point, taking pleasure in the commotion. However, the champion's actions were threatened by Alex Eala's game at 4-4. Her serve was broken. Her winning cross-court forehand painted the sidelines so perfectly that even some Thai supporters were forced to grudgingly accept it. For the first time, the stadium was quiet. In the afternoon, the drumming ceased. The whistles ceased to exist. For a brief moment, everyone was aware that they were observing a special person. Throughout the game, Isla served at a 5-4 ratio without hesitation. She didn't get tense. She showed Naklo no signs of hope. She finished the match 61-64 with flawless accuracy. It was a neat, straightforward triumph on paper. Had bought her gold medal ticket and exceeded her opponent in every important way. Create a match. As she packed her luggage and left the court with grace, she kept her head up and nodded to the few Filipino supporters who had endured the harsh surroundings. Now that the game is over and the work is finished, it's time to prepare for the final. However, due to what transpired in the player tunnel area and changing room, the main drama had not even started. Transform this into a tennis match. Make a game an official international tournament. Tennis matches usually end with a handshake near the net. Some luck in the final game, a brief nod of distinction, or perhaps a good fit. It's one of the game's endearing customs. At that period, even strong adversaries could conduct civilly, but according to onlookers at the net, Ella and Naklo's handshake was icy enough to cause frostbite. Naklo hardly looked him in the eye. She turned aside after making a brief hand signal, but she didn't acknowledge or grin. After that, you might cut through the thick drain with a racket. He remained unresponsive, the professional at all times. Naklo was furious when she just packed up her belongings and left the court. In front of her, her people were obviously eating the loss at home. In addition, the pressure cooker that had been expanding throughout the game was set to blow up spectacularly. It swiftly spread into the changing room after beginning in the player's tunnel. She supposedly came unattached while still wearing her sweat-soaked, adrenaline-pumping Faker Naklo match gear. The humiliation of being defeated in front of her native audience and the agony of losing. The awful weight of expectations. Everything came in a barrage of accusations and rage. She was talking quickly to her coaching staff at a volume that everyone nearby could hear, moving, and making extravagant motions. Other players' actions were halted. Mid-con officials stopped communicating. After the game, the mood quickly changed from one of serenity to one of tremendous stress. The remarks that are currently making the rounds in Southeast Asian sports forums and social media were then made by Fasaporn Naklo. According to multiple sources cited in the story, everyone in the area was shocked when Naklo made a remark. "I am hard to understand why you should value her simply because she is Filipino," she yelled loudly and plainly. Think over that sentence for a moment. In the excitement of the moment, the Naklo approach did not attack Ella's forehand. Still going through the pain of loss, she refrained from criticizing her service. She was certain of her plan. She made fun of her nationality. Ella's birthplace is more significant than her performance. It was an unabashed, unvarnished moment of annoyance that exposed deeper problems than simply being let down by a tennis match defeat. It revealed the fierce regional rivalry and unsolved problems that lurk beneath the surface of Southeast Asian sports. Naklo continued by implying that Ella had purposefully extended the intervals between points, which was a humorous charge considering Ella's shrewdness and the delays she encountered throughout the match. She said that Ella had purposefully disrupted her rhythm. She demanded that officials consider the outcome of the game, recognize its appeal, and search for any means of overturning the indisputable 6-16-4 scoreline. The hallway was silent. There was the sound of a pen drop. Other athletes who had been warming up or conversing halted and gazed. The authorities who had been going over the records glanced up in shock. This was not your typical post-game annoyance. This was not a player complaining about a bad line call or contesting an umpire's ruling. This was a total breakdown. It went beyond all facets of sportsmanship. The claim that Ella, one of the most composed and youthful professional athletes on the tour, was either a cheat or a time waster was surprising to everyone who had actually watched the game, including Alex. However, fury is nonsensical. Frustration is not warranted. At the time, Naklo was neither annoyed nor angry. She was searching for someone to hold accountable for her own inadequacies on the court. In this case, picture your Eala. In one of the most hostile settings possible, you have prevailed in a difficult semi-final battle. You're worn out physically. You're psychologically exhausted. You're attempting to recuperate and get ready for the SEA Games, which will be your career's most important final. After that, you end up in a hallway. The opponent is yelling that she can't appreciate you because of your nationality. The majority of players would lose. The majority of players would approach and begin screaming at one another, which would need to be broken up by security. We have seen it countless times in sports. Anger arises when egos collide. Unpleasant things do happen. However, not every gamer is like Alexa. She functions on an entirely different frequency. Ella was sitting on a chair close to the physiotherapy area, patiently retaping her racket while concentrating on her recovery. She heard all of the Naklo Diet tribe's accusations, insults, and attacks on her heritage and character. Everyone in the corridor was anticipating the explosion. They were waiting for Ella to yell back and leap to protect herself.